On June 23rd in 1985, Air India Flight 182 took off from Montreal and it was blown up over the Atlantic Ocean on its way to London. All 329 people on board were killed. 280 were Canadians traveling to India. That flight disappeared from the radar off the coast of Ireland after a bomb exploded on the airplane. And 40 years later, families continue to mourn and reflect and mark its tragic legacy. The RCMP say this investigation remains one of the largest and most complex in Canadian history, that exposed major gaps in intelligence sharing and how victims' families were supported. When it comes to the questions of what led up to it, well, Crown lawyers alleged during the court proceedings that the bombing was a terrorist attack against state-owned Air India as an act of revenge by BC-based Sikh extremists against the Indian government for ordering the army to raid Sikhism's holiest shrine, the Golden Temple in Amritsar, in June 1984. Two BC men, Ajay Singh Bagri and Rupudhaman Singh Malik, were acquitted of murder and conspiracy charges in those two bombings. Only one person was ever convicted in the attack for his role, Inderjeet Singh Rayat, who served 30 years in jail. We're now joined by Chandrima Chakraborty, a professor in the Department of English and Cultural Studies at McMaster University. She has spent much of her career creating a digital and even physical archive to preserve the memories of those who died. Chandrima, you've spent so much time speaking with the families of victims, and 40 years since this attack happened. What kind of lasting impact does this continue to have on those families?
This loss, I think, is particularly difficult for the families because they can't make sense of it. We can't make sense of it as to how this was possible. What made it possible? Could it have been prevented? Why was it not prevented? Were there so many bunglings? Why was there so much mishandling of the evidence? Why were leads not followed up? So lots of unanswered questions, and that is something that has stayed and continues to stay with the families. And furthermore, I think the non-recognition. So the non-recognition of those lives lost as a loss for Canada and as a loss of Canada. There was complete non-recognition of this tragedy as a Canadian tragedy. Soon after, it was considered a foreign tragedy. And since then, this tragedy has not claimed its rightful space in Canadian history, in our public consciousness, in our public memory. And that is the lasting and continuing and persistent grief of the Air India families.